Okay, I think we're recording now. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the end of the first quarter of our semester already. It's hard to believe 2 weeks have gone by and a quarter of the semester's gone. I wanted to make a few general comments on research topics. I wanted to also give some shout outs to some people on the essays for the units 2A and 2B. That's the Quran and the Confucius essays. And give you a little bit of advice as far as research topics go. I wanted to also say thank you to everyone who used their name in your file name that you submitted your essays to. That really helps me out when I'm looking for your essay in the Finder on my Mac. It's a lot easier for me when I can see your name on your file. Sometimes I comment on your essays and sometimes I don't. If I didn't comment on your essay, then just assume I loved it. If you need for me to comment on every thing that you send to me, let me know and I'll try to make some kind of comment, all right? But I want to say thank you for the great quality of the essays. I thought week 2A and 2B, the essays were really good. So thanks so much for your work on those. I want to say a special thanks to Amanda Peterson on the example of diligence in Confucius, and Tessa Zimmerman's great example of rock climbing is differentiating between courage and recklessness. I love that example. And I want to say thanks to Ethan Ikovitz for his terrific example of his own experience on the Lynn University tennis team. So thanks very much. Some examples were very personal, and so I chose not to highlight some of those. Thought they were great, but they were just personal enough that I felt like that information might be someone else's choice to share, other than mine. Questions that came up, word counts. What we're trying to shoot for is 400 to 500 words per unit. So that makes about 800 to 1,000 words per week. I know some of the prompts are easier to meet those word counts than others, so not to worry. I didn't notice any problem with the length of your essays. I found myself with plenty to read, so thanks very much for that. In regards to the initial research question prompt that was at the end of the Quran essay prompts, I've commented on all the essays that I received. My advice would be to try to stick with your topic if you can. You don't want to change things. You don't have time to change much. What you'll probably have to do is sharpen the focus of your question in order to limit the scope of your research. Remember, you're best served by projects that are illuminated by the code of ethics of the particular profession or major that you're studying. So the example, whether it's hospitality management or law enforcement, the example you're looking for is best exemplified by a case. And then the perspective of that case is illuminated by the code of ethics. These issues, of course, we study ethics because some of these perspectives that we have change over time and in different cultures. A good research project usually ends with suggestions as to how further research might be helpful to extend and to further solutions to these kinds of problems. In general, quite often at this stage, my comment is your question's too large or too broad, too vague. And so I ask you to go back. What is your major? What's the profession you're studying for a degree? Use that code of ethics. I also, once again, strongly recommend the Markula Center of Applied Ethics at Santa Clara. There's a case section where they have just lists case after case as examples, and that's a great way of getting an idea, and using a similar project from your own perspective is perfectly suitable. Remember, this is an exercise, this assignment, and it's mainly descriptive, and so your problem is, what is the research question? What would a reasonable person have to know in order to deal with the situation that you've described? Who are the parties that are involved in these kinds of situations? What are the consequences to those parties of the typical kinds of decisions that would be made using the guidelines that are described in the Code of Ethics and Codes of Conduct for those professions? And so that's really what you're trying to accomplish in this, to explore a problem and to describe it as fully as you can. And so that's, in general, those are my comments for this week. I'll get back to you at the end of this week with some more specific advice in regards to your topic proposals. So I look forward to responding then. Thanks very much. Let me see how if I can turn this recording off here.